"Dad, you can't live here anymore," my son said, standing in the doorway of the house I built with my own hands. His voice was firm, practiced, like he'd rehearsed it in the mirror that morning. Behind him, the living room light spilled out across the porch, warm and golden, but none of that light reached me. I stood there with my overnight bag, the one I'd packed after the hospital released me last week. My shoulder still ached from the fall, and the doctor told me to take it easy. But rest was a luxury I couldn't afford, not when my own child was looking at me like I didn't belong. "You heard me, Dad," he said again. "It's not healthy for you to stay here anymore. You need to move on, that's what he called it. Kicking me out of the house his mother and I had poured 30 years into, the one I paid off long before he ever learned to drive. I looked at him carefully. Marcus, 35, tall, sharp jawline, dark skin like mine but smoother, the kind that came from never working a day in the sun. His hair was neatly faded, his eyes cold, expression tight. He wore that same navy suit he always did for work. Expensive. Crisp, detached. Next to him stood his wife, Vanessa, younger, flawless makeup, straightened black hair, and that same polite smile she used whenever she didn't want to look guilty. She didn't meet my eyes. Her hand was resting gently on Marcus's arm, as if to calm him, but I could tell she was the one who wanted this. "I just need a few more days," I said quietly. "Your mother's things," he cut me off. "We've already packed them. They're in storage." My chest tightened. "You had no right." "Dad, please," he said, exasperated. "We talked about this. You can't keep living in the past. You need to focus on yourself now." Myself funny. He said that standing in front of my house, with my mortgage long paid, my name still on the deed, pretending I was some guest overstaying his welcome. I didn't argue. Didn't shout. Didn't give him what he expected. A proud old man begging for a couch to sleep on. Instead, I nodded slowly, my jaw tightening. "All right," I said. "If that's what you want." He looked relieved, like a man who just solved a problem instead of breaking a heart. I picked up my bag, turned toward the car parked in the driveway, and felt the cool night air brush against my face. It smelled like rain, clean, sharp, and about to wash something away. As I reached the car door, I heard Vanessa whisper, "Do you think he's okay?" Marcus sighed. "He'll be fine. He's stubborn, but he'll adjust. He'll adjust." That's what my son thought. I slid into my old sedan, its leather cracked from age, and sat there in silence. The porch light turned off behind me. My son's shadow disappeared from the window. And just like that, the house that once held every piece of my life, laughter, Sunday dinners, the sound of his little feet running down the hallway, belonged to someone else, but not really, because I knew something Marcus didn't. The house was never transferred to him. Not yet, not until I decided it was time, and after the way he spoke to me, I decided that time had run out. I reached into the glove compartment, pulled out my phone, and scrolled through my contacts. My thumb stopped on one name, Harris, my attorney of 22 years. A good man, loyal, quiet, precise. I hit call. He picked up on the second ring. "Mr. Coleman?" "Harris," I said evenly, staring at the dark silhouette of my house through the windshield. "I need you to prepare the new paperwork." There was a pause. "The deed, sir?" "Yes," I said. "Transfer everything tonight." He hesitated, confused. "Everything? You mean—" "I said everything," I interrupted, my tone low but steady. "I want it done in the next 10 minutes. "Understood," he said finally. "I'll send confirmation shortly." When I hung up, I leaned back in the seat, staring at the empty driveway. The porch light flicked back on. Maybe Marcus forgot something. I could see his shape move behind the curtains, pacing. My lips curved just slightly. No anger, no revenge. Just quiet understanding. He thought he was throwing out a burden, but he'd just locked himself out of something far bigger. I put the phone down on the passenger seat, closed my eyes, and whispered, 10 minutes, Marcus. That's all you have left to learn what you've lost." The rain began to fall, soft and rhythmic against the windshield. Each drop sounded like a countdown, and when the 10th minute came, everything he thought was his was mine again. The rain was steady that night, soft at first, then growing heavier like the sky itself was carrying the weight of every word Marcus had thrown at me. I sat in the car for a long time after hanging up with Harris. The windshield wipers moved back and forth, slicing through streaks of light from the street lamps. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. Tired of being treated like an old relic. My phone buzzed. A text from Harris. All documents transferred. Ownership reverted. It's done. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed a simple reply. Thank you. 10 minutes. That's all it took. 10 minutes to undo 30 years of entitlement. 10 minutes to remind my son that respect isn't inherited. It's earned. I started the car and drove off slow, steady. The rain followed me all the way down Pine Avenue. By morning, I was sitting in my lawyer's office. Harris was an older man, mid-60s, dark-skinned with a silver beard and glasses that always slid down his nose. His navy suit was perfectly pressed, but his tone was soft, the way old friends speak when they know too much. "You sure about this, Mr. Coleman?" he asked, sliding a folder across the desk. "That house, it's still got value. You could lease it, sell it, whatever you want." I smiled faintly. "I don't need the money, Harris. I just needed the peace," he nodded, opening his drawer. "Then it's official. As of last night, the property, the land, the assets, all reverted back to you. I've already notified the county office." I leaned back in the chair. "Good. Leave the utilities on. He'll figure it out soon enough." Harris chuckled under his breath. "You always did have a poetic sense of justice." "It's not about justice," I said quietly. "It's about memory. Some people forget who built the ground they're standing on." By afternoon, my phone rang again. The caller ID read, "Marcus." I let it ring once, twice, then silence. A few minutes later, a text. "Marcus, Dad, what's going on?" "The internet's off." "Marcus, did you cancel the utilities?" "Marcus, Dad, the security company says the account changed ownership." I didn't reply. The phone rang again. Then again. By the fourth missed call, I turned the phone face down on the table. Let him sit with it. Let him wonder. An hour later, another message came in, this one longer. "Marcus, Dad, they said the property title got transferred overnight. Is that true?" "Marcus, I don't understand. You told me Mom left it to us." I read the text slowly, the way you watch rain trace lines on a window. He was wrong, of course. His mother and I never left anything to them. We left it in trust, for family, not convenience, and that trust still had my name on it. That evening I drove back to the neighborhood, not to gloat, just to see. The house sat quietly under the orange glow of the streetlights. The curtains were open. Through the window I saw Marcus pacing, his phone pressed to his ear. Vanessa sitting on the couch with her arms folded, her face tense. She looked different now. The confidence was gone. Her dark skin shimmered faintly under the lamplight. Her hair, usually straight and perfect, hung loose around her face. She looked scared, maybe for the first time. I parked down the street and watched. Marcus grabbed his laptop, typed furiously, then slammed it shut. He looked like a man who'd just realized the ground beneath him was gone. Vanessa stood and started arguing. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the panic in her movements. The sharp gestures, the quick pacing. A flash of thunder lit the sky. For a second, their whole living room glowed in white light, and I thought, there it is. The moment truth finally knocks. My phone buzzed again. Harris, he didn't bother with pleasantries. "Your son just called me." I figured he would. "He sounds shaken," Harris said. "Wanted to confirm if the transfer was real." "What did you tell him?" I told him the truth. There was a pause on the line. Then Harris added, "He asked me if you were planning to sell the house." I smiled faintly. "No, I'm planning to live in it again." Another pause. "You mean to move back?" "Yes," I said, looking up at the dark sky. "After all, it's my home." The next morning I parked in front of the house. Marcus was already waiting by the porch, wearing the same wrinkled shirt from last night. His face looked different, pale, drawn, eyes red from no sleep. "Dad," he said as I stepped out of the car, "what did you do?" I didn't answer right away, just looked at him. "I had a meeting with the firm this morning," he continued. "They told me all the assets connected to the house, insurance, trust fund, even the vacation property, were frozen. Everything's under your name now." I nodded slowly. "That's right. Why?" His voice cracked. "Why would you do that to me?" I sighed. "Because you forgot whose roof you were standing under." He swallowed hard, stepping closer. "Dad, you can't just—" "I can," I said quietly. And I did. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, arms folded, eyes darting between us. "Marcus, what's going on?" He didn't answer her. His jaw clenched, his voice low. You're really going to make me beg, aren't you? I looked at him evenly. I don't want you to beg, son. I just want you to remember. He blinked fast, his eyes glistening. Remember what? That everything you thought you owned was never yours to take. He looked away then, shoulders shaking slightly, and for the first time in years, I saw humility replace pride on his face. Vanessa turned to him sharply. Marcus, what are we going to do? He didn't answer. Just stood there, breathing hard, staring at the ground. The storm had passed, but the silence between us was heavier than any rain. He looked up at me finally, voice trembling. Dad, please, let's talk inside. I nodded once, slow and calm. All right, I said. Let's talk. He stepped aside to let me in, but as I crossed the threshold, I could feel it, the shift. He wasn't the one in control anymore. And he knew it. Inside, the house smelled like dust and regret. The same walls he once claimed as his now stood quiet, waiting. This was no longer his home. It was mine again. And before this day was over, he was going to understand why some doors, once shut, never opened the same way twice. The morning sun crept through the blinds, painting faint golden lines across the old hardwood floor. I stood in the living room, my living room, looking around slowly. The scent of fresh coffee mixed with rain-damp air. The pictures on the wall, my late wife's smile frozen in time, Marcus's graduation photo, our family barbecue from years ago, all looked back at me like quiet witnesses. Marcus sat on the couch, elbows on his knees, head bowed. Vanessa stood by the kitchen island, arms folded tight, avoiding my gaze. For the first time since I walked through that door, neither of them spoke. I remember when we bought this place, I said softly. Your mother wanted that window seat right there. Said she wanted to sit every morning with her tea and watch the sunrise. Marcus looked up slowly. His eyes were red, swollen. I remember, he whispered. She loved this house, I continued. Every nail, every paint stroke meant something. We built it from nothing. I thought you'd understand that one day. He swallowed hard. I do now, Dad. I nodded. Do you? He didn't answer. Just looked down at his hands again. Vanessa broke the silence first. Her voice was small, trembling slightly. Mr. Coleman, we made a mistake. Her dark brown eyes darted to Marcus, then back to me. I thought you'd already given him the deed. I didn't know. I turned my gaze toward her. Her smooth black hair framed a face that looked far younger than her years, but her confidence had faded. She wasn't the same woman who once smirked when she thought I couldn't hear. I don't blame you, I said calmly. People only act on what they're taught. My son made you believe comfort was earned without sacrifice. That's not your fault. Marcus's jaw tightened. Dad, no, I said sharply, but not cruelly. You listen now. I walked closer, my voice steady, my steps slow but certain. You shut that door on me like I was some stranger asking for charity. You thought the old man had nothing left but memories. He blinked fast, tears threatening to spill. I never wanted your house, Dad, he said quietly. I just thought you were struggling, that maybe living here wasn't good for you anymore. I let out a tired laugh. That's not what you said. He exhaled, defeated. I know. I walked to the mantel and picked up a photo, the three of us smiling under the summer sun. My wife's hand was on my shoulder. Marcus stood beside me, still a teenager back then, his face bright, proud. Your mother told me once, I said, eyes fixed on the picture, that pride runs in this family like blood, that one day it would destroy us if we let it. I turned to him. She was right. Marcus stood now, his posture slumped, eyes full of guilt. Dad, I'm sorry. The words hung heavy in the air. Vanessa looked at him, surprised. Maybe it was the first time she'd ever heard him sound small. He took a step closer. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just trying to make things easier. For us. For me. I set the photo down and looked at him for a long time. You know what would have made things easier? I asked. Respect. A conversation. Not a locked door. He nodded slowly, tears beginning to fall. So you're right? Silence filled the room again. Not cold this time, but heavy, alive. Then quietly he sank to his knees. Dad, please. Forgive me. The sound of it hit harder than any insult he'd ever thrown. I walked over, my chest tightening. When I placed a hand on his shoulder, I felt the same warmth I used to feel when he was little, when he'd scrape his knee and look up at me for comfort. Get up, son, I said softly. I'm not your enemy. I just wanted you to remember who you came from. He rose slowly, wiping his face. Vanessa stepped forward, voice shaky. What happens now? I took a deep breath. You both have a choice. You can start over, with humility, or you can walk away and keep pretending the world owes you something. Marcus nodded, his voice quiet but firm. I want to start over. I studied his face for a long moment. He looked younger somehow, stripped of arrogance, bare to the truth. Then we start with honesty, I said. This house will stay under my name. When I'm gone, it'll go to charity. Not because I don't trust you, but because I don't want you to build your life on something you didn't earn. He nodded again, this time without protest. Later that afternoon, I sat on the porch with a mug of coffee, watching the sun break through the clouds. Marcus was out front, trimming the hedges, quietly, carefully, like he used to as a boy. Vanessa brought out 2 cups of lemonade, her expression softer, humbled. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. The air between us felt different now. Not angry, not tense. Just honest. As the sky shifted from gold to amber, Marcus turned toward me. Dad, he said, thank you for not giving up on me. I smiled faintly. That's what fathers do. We teach even when the lesson hurts. He nodded, tears glistening again, but this time they weren't from shame. That evening after they left, I walked through the house alone. Every step echoed through the rooms, softer, warmer now. In the quiet, I could almost hear my wife's voice again. One day, he'll learn. I stopped in the doorway, looking out at the streetlight flickering by the driveway, the same one Marcus used to ride circles around with his bike. He had learned. Maybe too late, maybe just in time. I smiled to myself, whispering into the empty house, guess I'm not such a burden after all. And as I closed the door behind me, the wind carried the faintest sound of peace, the kind that only comes when love finally finds its way home.